What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Cardi AK, and we're back here with another quick video. Yeah, y'all thought I was gonna see the same thing that I do in my regular videos? Nah, y'all see what's on the screen? That's 2K. Today, I wanted to talk about the recent Marvel show that I finished for video that I'm putting out this week. As of today, I've just finished Loki. I'm gonna write some quick notes about it tomorrow during school. My thoughts on Loki specifically will come out after the video has come out, but if you care, stay tuned for next week when I talk about Loki. But today, I want to talk about why Wandavision let me down. Real quick, if you're new here, these are not my normal videos. These are just quick videos I like to put out in between the big projects on the weekends, like what I'm thinking, the preparation for the video, like this specific thing. I'm watching all the Marvel films and shows over the past year that culminate all in my opinions that I will be dropping in this week's video. So, without further ado, let me start out with the aesthetic of WandaVision. The whole vintage show vibe for the majority of the show, as that was the mode that we were in for, like, when it comes to the different settings and time periods. I think we were in the 50s, 60s, black and white for the longest amount of time, at least when we were in show form. And the humor and the corniness of that whole aesthetic and of the whole, like, TV show feel, just it didn't do it for me. I was very turned off by it. Granted, I know that a lot of people like that. It reminds them of those shows that she was, thinking of and such, and I understand it. I understand its significance in the show. I understand why she did it. I just don't like it from a viewing standpoint. It's an interesting design choice. I'll definitely say that for Marvel. It's very innovative for them. Granted, they kind of do whatever the fuck they want to do with these shows, so it's good to see that they're not staying within the box that they've set for themselves and they're expanding past it. But for me, the gimmick was cool, and I understand that it did a lot for people because during the promotional art for the show before it was coming out last year, I remember a lot of people saying, like, why would I watch a show about Wanda and Vision? Vision's dead, and who cares about Wanda? Like, nobody knows her, nobody cares about her. And I think that a lot of people got very enticed when they found out that at least part of the show, and what we thought at the time would be like most of the show, would be portrayed in a black and white sitcom setting. I'm sure that enticed quite a bit of people. So for them, hope y'all liked that, but I just didn't. That's just my thoughts on it. Getting into the actual, like, plot and relevance of things, I picked up pretty early that the show would basically only be about 3 people. Of course, Wanda and Vision, but even with the introduction of the Sword people and Geraldine, I was still like, Agatha is gonna be important here. Agatha is showing her face too often to just be a random side character in this fabricated show. There's too much fake suspense being built around her. There's too much of her butting in and playing the perfect character in an otherwise fabricated show where there are cracks and everything. And of course, Wanda and Vision, you can see the cracks in them and in their household and such. But just the way that Agatha was forcing herself in the story and such, I could very easily see, like, very early on, honestly, episode 1, that she would be one of the only 3 characters that actually mattered in this show. Another thing about the show that I didn't really like, actually, was the fact that for a Marvel Disney Plus show without action for about like 80% of it, before the meta plotline was introduced with Sword and the monitoring of everybody, and of course the unveiling of who Geraldine really was and such, there's a lot of meaningless dialogue and not a lot of progression in the story until we get to that point of the pregnancy, at least in my opinion. There's some suspenseful moments, there's some teases of there being something up with Wanda, and of course Vision unveiling some things and some things being out of whack and out of sort and such, but like, there's very little story progression until we get to that point in the show. Like, a lot of the dialogue, at least I feel, is wasted. Granted, I'm sure that's on purpose to establish the idea to the audience that, oh, this is just a regular show where it's completely normal, and they want to make sure that you get that point. That's what the first 2 episodes are mainly for. But I think by like the halfway point of episode 1, I understood that, and honestly, the show could have been like 2 to 3 episodes shorter if they had just progressed the story a little bit faster from the jump and not wasted, in my opinion, and not wasted so much time on trying to establish like, oh, we're watching a sitcom. Ooh, wow, sitcom idea. It's black and white. Wow. It's like these jokes and this the corniness and the throwback and like, I don't know. I think they spent entirely too long trying to establish that, but that might just be my opinion once again. But the comedy did kind of pick up later when she was pregnant and with the kids. All of that humor was actually like pretty funny. Even with Agatha, she stopped being, at that point she was kind of unbearable. But once the pregnancy happened and the color scheme changed and all that, that's when the humor kind of got to me. And also around that point, I had started to really just enjoy the overall vibe of the show. At that point, I had noticed the lack of action and come to appreciate it, because like these are characters that we don't really know too well. And this is a setting that, you know, up until this point hasn't truly been explained. Now, like I said, with the kids, we also do have the confrontation with Geraldine, and we have a ton of suspense and a ton of moments where we're meant to question, hey, how is this world really happening? What's really happening here? Granted, myself as a former comic book reader, well aware of the things that happen with Wanda and Scarlet Witch as a whole, especially within House of M, but just in general in the comic book universe, Wanda has a history of going apeshit. So I already understood what was happening for the most part, but seeing it unfold on screen in a relatively good paced way around the midway point of the show, I think was pretty good. I really did like that, until the fact that they brought in Agatha the Harkness. I don't have a problem with introducing Agatha's role, introducing that in order to truly create the Scarlet Witch. Makes sense. I mean, that's how that unfolds. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't think that she should have been the big bad guy in the end, because I believe that it absolves Wanda of too much. Even within the story, Wanda shouldn't be redeemed. I believe this show should end with us still looking at Wanda in a very, very gray area. There should be no clear redemption for Wanda. There should be no silver lining of, well, she's still an Avenger. She's still a good guy. These people at Sword shouldn't be caping for her if with the potential of there's a bigger force out there. No, everybody should be in limbo. Everything should be in limbo, and we should walk out of this show with no consensus aside from Wanda's kind of crazy. Let's see what happens next. There should be nothing. I hate the fact that they forced in her backstory. Not really. I mean, her backstory was relatively natural. It felt a little bit out of place, but I still feel like it should have happened within the show. But no, don't frame her as the big bad this early, especially when I can see what you're trying to set up with Wanda. Don't do that. Let Wanda be ambiguous. Let her morality take center stage for all, what is it, 8 episodes, 9 episodes, and don't do anything with a big bad. Don't force in a big fight at the end. And even if you just wanted to do like Evil Vision, just do that, bro. Or if you just truly wanted the entire show to just be Wanda and her mental health, do that. But don't bring in some fabricated weird witch big bad to fight the other witch and then have Vision fight the other Vision. Like, no, bro. Her story shouldn't be over. Hopefully it isn't over with the end of WandaVision, at least season 1. But hopefully her story isn't done, because if it is, they don't use Wanda's fractured mental state to bring in any character or to mess up the multiverse even more on a cosmic scale, and that's a big missed opportunity for the MCU right there. But aside from that, shout out Young Avengers. I saw you, Billy. Shout out Wiccan. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed me rambling about my thoughts on WandaVision. Hopefully next video will be much more structured. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace.